Okay, so this video is about Tiffany Haddish and Ari Spears. So I believe what has recently developed, and a lot of people probably have seen this, and Tiffany has expressed that she's glad it's behind her, but in the whole scheme of all of this, it has ruined her career or her chances of ever gaining the access to the opportunities that she had once had. So it's just really sad that you have people that will try to find ways to lie in wait, and as soon as you get to a certain status, they just seem to just jump on the opportunity to just take all of that away. And I feel like if there was something that really was happening, how is it that it took so long for the people to come forward? And I also, in my opinion, I feel like because of all of these other bigger name people that have recently been taken down by some people who have had allegations similar, such as this, like being sexually assaulted, or those things are serious. Now, I'm not taking away from that to say that those things should be taken lightly, and that's exactly said because it has now ruined the career of Tiffany Haddish to some degree, or made it harder for her to find acting work. So this article, it discusses the allegations of child molestation. Um, I know when people see the videos, everybody has their own ideas and whatnot. I'm merely going on, what has come about in developments of the recent allegations that were made, and then the recent decisions that were made in reference to those particular allegations. So those are not my words that are written here. I just want to clarify that because sometimes people, when they see a video, they think you might have wrote the article yourself, and I have to clarify that, and people don't really pay close attention to the fact that this is information that is coming out, and it's all over social media. So it is not just an idea that I come up with. So let me clarify that. So Tiffany Haddish, she claims that her career has taken a turn for the worse. So there are several articles that are talking about this issue of the allegations. So this is by Kayla Rivera. There's also articles in Hip Hop Wired. There's articles on other various sites that discuss similar issues involving the allegations that were made towards Tiffany Haddish and Ari Spears. So fans worldwide were shocked when Tiffany Haddish and fellow comedian Ari Spears were slammed with the lawsuit that was recent, accusing them of child sexual abuse and molestation. So according to the Daily Beast, and the brother and sister who had identified themselves as Jane and John Doe alleged. Now, we'll use that word because even in the other videos, I said it was a developing story. And so still you have people saying, oh, we need more facts. Well, if it's a developing story, we don't have all of the facts yet, do we? And so it depends on what comes out, that is revealed to us, because some of the things even Tiffany said out of her own mouth, she couldn't really express all of the feelings that she wanted to express because it would go against having her, it might hurt her in court. So now, more recently, these two brother and sister people who identify themselves as Jane and John Doe allege that Haddish and Spears were responsible for pressuring them into filming sexually inappropriate content for several comedy skits. So the outlet reported that the siblings, who were just 14 and 7 years old when they were allegedly groomed by these comedians, this is what was allegedly claimed. Okay, so these are not my words. So, people don't seem to get it. When they hear this, they get all in their feelings. Like I said, Tiffany Haddish was somebody I enjoyed watching as well. So you have to be mindful that when people are reading something, it is someone else that wrote this. If I had my name at the bottom and said I wrote it, then you would have known I wrote it, and I would have confessed. I would have said I wrote this article. But there are several news outlets and articles that are reporting the same situation. So after receiving intense backlash online, because there's two sides to every coin. There are some people that still feel like their choice in the skit was poor, and that they should have picked something else, and that wasn't a joking matter. Then you have the other people on the other side of the coin that feel like somebody was out to get them, somebody was out to ruin their career, or they were after money. So I'm just merely paraphrasing what some people might have said in other various news outlets regarding the allegations. So while this sketch was intended to be comedic, it wasn't funny at all. And so Tiffany expressed that as well. So, and I am deeply regretting having agreed to act in it. So she wrote on Instagram. And so this was Tiffany Haddish. And so although the lawsuit appeared to be very serious in nature, Jane Doe making it clear that she wanted Haddish and Spears to face legal ramifications. So the women are the woman that had a change of heart, okay? So according to the court documents obtained by TMZ, the young lady completely dismissed the entire lawsuit just weeks after bringing it to light. So my family and I have known Tiffany Haddish for many years, and we now know that she would never harm me or my... Okay, so all of a sudden this changes, okay? So we can only come up with several conclusions, and so at the end of this article I will give you my feedback on what I'm feeling about all of this. Okay, so going on with this, okay, so the woman had a change of heart. So she said they've known Tiffany Haddish for many years, and we know that she would never harm me or my brother or help anyone else to do anything that could harm us, she told the outlet. Okay, so it also says to continue reading, okay? So all of a sudden the change of heart. So now be careful with that, all right? Because Tiffany is pretty big up the ladder as far as I'm concerned. So Tiffany may be in the clear when it comes to the law. However, her career took a major hit due to the child molestation or the child sexual abuse accusations. So I lost everything, Tiffany Haddish said. She told TMZ after being confronted at the LA International Airport when she was at LAX, of course. All her gigs are gone, and I don't have no job, she added. So during her conversation with the photographer, the comedian clarified that she doesn't speak to her former friend Ari Spears, and noted that her main worry throughout this entire situation was the kids who were involved. So I was really concerned about those kids and making sure that they were okay. This is what Haddish added. So although the night school star is currently out of work, Baton Rouge rapper Boosie Badass wants to offer Haddish an opportunity to get back on the big screen again. Okay, so I've seen some articles expressing that as well, that some people are trying to pour out some level of support for Tiffany Haddish. So he wanted to offer an opportunity to get back on the big screen. So I can't pay you what they were paying you, but I got a check. So he tweeted this, and I would love to pay you to make a comedy with me. So the Set It Off rapper continued to offer his support and even encouraged the actor to make her own content. So what they did to you might be a career-changing, don't let this slide. Okay, so this is what he wrote. So you're a star and you can produce your own movies. So hopefully this is a short article, so it ends here. So hopefully, as the dust settles, Tiffany Haddish can go back to doing what she loves. So that's pretty much the article. So it's very short, sweet, and simple. So it's not a real like long drawn out. So this is Tiffany Haddish right here, in Better Days, of course, posing for the camera at an event. It's a Getty image. So I personally, in my opinion, now all of a sudden, whoever these people were, we could come up with several conclusions as to what might have happened. Now, I will say this, as it has changed the lives of Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears, and Tiffany Haddish more recently, because she was doing like a lot of acting work and a lot of opportunities, doors were open to her, and now it seems like they've been kind of like stifled, and there's been some obstacles placed in her way. I do believe that she will be able to redeem herself to some level of stability, because she still has the support out there of fans, and she has the support of fellow comedians, I'm sure, and people who are in her corner. However, there are people who are scratching their head, and people who have probably come to the conclusion that maybe those people were paid money. And that also will add that maybe that is why the allegation came up all of a sudden, because they know that Tiffany Haddish has really been very successful in her career, and that might have been the main reason why they targeted the both of them, those comedians, especially Tiffany Haddish, being those that she's very, very popular, and she's very current in terms of her status in Hollywood. With Aries Spears, somehow he comes into the mix. I really believe that I have not really seen him do much of anything like he used to, since he was, relevant in terms of like movies and comedy, and whatever other acting work that he's been involved in. But what I believe is that you have to be very careful when you're in the business of Hollywood, because there's so many obstacles, so many things that can come in your way. And then two, there's the other side of this story. This is probably gonna sound more conspiracy type stuff, but some people, and I'm basically going on with the paraphrasing, some people believe there's establishments and secret societies in Hollywood, and they believe that if you're not a person that will take an oath, or you'll take the sacrifice, or whatever it is, in order to be included in the Hollywood scheme or closed door schemes, then your career will be forever ruined or tarnished. And so I've heard these stories float around in social media various times. Now, I will say this, I do believe there are people behind the scenes that can call the shots. They can make you who you are, and they can also help to take you down. And I really believe this to be true, because the same thing is such when this happened to the comedian Monique, where she basically was blackballed out of Hollywood. And so I don't think her career has ever really been the same since all of those incidences, with her having to run in with Oprah, Tyler Perry, and then some other various big name producers that had to do with movie making business. People who are behind the scenes with Netflix and shows and whatnot. And so I believe if my memory serves me correct, that she had something with Netflix and that she might have been able to resolve those issues. There was some kind of disagreement with Netflix, and then there was a disagreement with Tyler Perry, and then there were several other big name people who she had some debates with, and it was really hot button topics that actually surfaced on social media. She even made videos of things that she was disgruntled about, and so I don't think still even to this day her career is ever the same as it used to be when she had started out, because of all of the fighting and the infighting within other people that are in that Hollywood circle. So I do believe there are people who are behind the scenes that pretty much all they gotta do is make a phone call, and you're gonna be up the ladder, and you're gonna have your spotlight and your shine. And if you fall out of the graces of these individuals, then they can determine whether your spotlight is going to start to dim. And we don't know what all has happened to lead up to these allegations, other than the fact that we do know that a lot of people do not have tolerance for molestation of children. And that is a zero tolerance hot button issue. And hands down, anyone involved in that's a one-way ticket out of the door for some people. That if you even go near that topic and it involves your name, it can take you out of a lot of jobs, and people will start to distrust you. So some people might still think that Tiffany and Aries Spears are still somewhat guilty of the idea that why would you do a skit like that to begin with? And why would you agree to do something like that? And then you might have some people will say, like, maybe in the beginning, she wasn't really, operating, coherently to the point to where she knew the consequences of what her actions were. And Aries Spears as well, they didn't know that this would somehow resurface. And being in the social media limelight as it is nowadays, you can do something maybe 20 years ago, maybe a year ago, and if it's going to determine whether it makes you or break you, it will. And people will hold on to that grudge, or they will hold on to those videos. And if they don't like something about you, or you have an argument with them, or if something doesn't go right between you and that individual, and they will lie in wait, and they will take you down in flames. And so I've said this, Hollywood is good for media, for building you up and putting you high up on this pedestal, but they are also in the same breath good for taking you down right where you stand. And you will go down in flying flames, and all your career and your work, it'll seem like it was never significant at all. I mean, we can just go down the list of some of the people that have been taken down dramatically and without fail. And you also have the court of public opinion. And so you cannot ignore that this is the age we live in. And I don't really think that's ever really been just in this era. I think it's just more heightened in this era now than ever before. Because people have like zero, we're operating on zero tolerance level now, where people, the molestation, not having it. There's certain hot button topics that are political, not having it. When people hear you have anything to do with it, not having it. So that's just the way it goes. And Hollywood is very complex. It has big name people that are behind the scenes that can call the shots. And from what I was hearing, people can make one phone call and that phone call could basically be the end game for you. Whether you are either going to be on top of your game or you are going to be all the way back where you started and then worse. Or you're never going to be the same. Your name is never going to be looked at the same without that negative connotation next to it. It's like this little dark cloud that just keeps following you, and you're going to have two sides of opinions that are just going to keep following your name. And so we don't know if these individuals had lied in wait, and maybe somebody encouraged them, said, hey, they're taking all these big people down and you could probably get a payout. It was really poor choice of what they did, but they involved you and now you're suffering. And so maybe they had the individuals to recant their statements once they got paid, and they had to sign some declaration. Maybe they had to sign a form saying that they would no longer harass Tiffany and Haddish and Aries Spears if they received the lump sum of payout. They had to recant their statements, and then they had to do it to where that these journalists can print out, oh, they didn't mean to harm us, blase, blase. And so, but behind the scenes, maybe these people are just holding on to whatever, because how could you go from all of a sudden you were bruised, you have all these issues going on, all these social issues, or it has damaged you with the molestation. We do know the skit did happen. So that part of it, we can honestly say the skit did happen. We do know that it was a poor choice in a skit. We do know that. We can honestly say that. We do know molestation and child abuse and molestation or grooming kids, it's zero tolerance level. It is not something that is a joking matter. And Tiffany Haddish has pointed out that she wished she had not ever agreed to do that skit. But if I knew that maybe she was thinking it wasn't going to be received the way it has now been received. But you gotta know this: whenever it's a situation of child abuse or molestation, whenever it's a situation that is a hot button topics, or they're highly publicized political issues, you have to look at the consequences that lie there in the end. What is the outcome going to be? So you have to think before you just delve in a project, and you have to decide, is this something that I want to also be willing to stand up and receive the consequence, even if it means losing your career or never gaining the access to the work that you formerly had. And so I don't think she was really knowing at the time that it was going to be received this way, and people make mistakes. They maybe not really seeing the big picture of everything. And so I will say that you can play devil advocate on all levels with this, but there might come a time that her I don't know that her status will ever be the same as it was, because some people just totally, when you cross the line, that's it. That line has been crossed with some individuals. So when it comes to, having a repertoire in Hollywood, if you're having any kinds of issues such as this, we could say too, by them being African American black people, it seems as though when black people make mistakes or they have errors, they seem to be taken down a lot quicker than their counterparts, their white counterparts. you see other people are able to somehow bounce back or redeem themselves or quietly go off and live their life without being hassled. But when it has to do with African American, some people will probably agree that you are basically you're vilified all through social media and throughout. And so it just totally ruins everything that you worked hard for. And there's no going back from that. Um, so without any further ado, it's really sad what has happened. That Tiffany now, her career has, I will say, a blemish on it behind this. But I do know that there's a ray of hope. She still has fans. She still has support from various individuals, celebrity name people as well, who are behind her and still support her in the scheme of all of this. Also, I want to say that you gotta be very careful who's in your circle, who you associate yourself with. You don't know if maybe there's someone out there that just was waiting to take her down, and they may not even be the people that were in the skit necessarily. They could be people that were on the outside, and they saw her rising to um, her fame. And people will do things that are really awful to one another if they feel some level of jealousy that you have received a lot of accolades, awards, you're doing well financially. If you fall out of favor with someone, or you get in an argument, or something happens between you and that individual, they might not have to look too far to dig up dirt on you just so they can destroy everything that you worked for. And you might not at the time knew what you were doing. Maybe it was when you were starting out and you thought it was funny. And then when it surfaces to social media and you're this big star, it just ruins everything that you worked for. And so we've seen this time and time again, but I'm going to let this go. I just wish Tiffany Haddish the best in her endeavors, and Aries Spears as well. I don't know how he's holding up with all of this. I don't know if his name was included in the dropped charges, but it's just this whole thing. I was shocked because I really like her shows. I heard her talent, her acting skills, and I enjoyed watching movies with Tiffany Haddish. I found her to be really funny, charismatic, and representative of the Black community as well. She's been very vocal about social issues as well on all levels. So it's just sad. Yeah, so I wish her the best, and until then, we'll see if anything else comes about, or if, what her endeavors are in the near future.